The mist at Blackwood Acres was thicker than ever, like a heavy curtain about to fall. It felt like the air itself was holding its breath, waiting for something big to happen. My old, comfy boots sank into the soft dirt, a familiar feeling, but today it was mixed with worry. This land wasn't just dirt and trees. It was my family's heart, with stories whispered on the wind from generations past. And now, greedy hands wanted to snatch it away. They weren't strangers, not really. They were my new neighbors who'd built their fancy houses so close, yet felt so far away. They saw my farm as nothing more than an eyesore, something to be erased. Their group, the Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association, had a name that sounded as cold and unwelcoming as a winter storm. They sent letters filled with fancy words that hid nasty intentions, each one a little jab, a little push to get me off my land. And then there was Patricia. She wasn't just the head of the HOA. She was its heartless queen. Her voice could make you shiver like a leaf in a storm, and her bossy attitude was bigger than my biggest barn. Every time I had to face her, it felt like I was going into battle, armed with nothing but my stubbornness and the truth. "Mr. Blackwood," she'd say, her voice dripping with a sweetness that fooled no one, "we've received many complaints. The aroma from your farm is quite noticeable, and the animals, so unpredictable. And let's not even discuss the, shall we say, rustic appearance of your property. It's simply not in harmony with our community." She'd tap her long, polished nails on her expensive clipboard, her eyes scanning my farm like it was a disease she might catch. My temper, usually as steady as an old oak, would start to boil. "This ain't some manicured garden, ma'am," I'd say, my voice rough as gravel. "It's a farm. It's how I feed my family, how my daddy fed his and his daddy before him. It's the lifeblood of this town, whether you like it or not." But Patricia's eyes were as hard and shiny as polished stones, and she wouldn't back down. She'd talk about rules and regulations, about how my farm didn't fit in with their perfect little world. It was always the community, never my land, never my life, never my family's legacy. The fight got uglier. The HOA didn't just hire lawyers. They hired the meanest lawyers in the city, the kind who knew how to twist words and bend the law like a pretzel. They sent letters filled with legal threats, trying to scare me into giving up. They talked about taking my farm, not just for some community garden, but for a development. More houses, more concrete, less green. That scared me more than anything. I found my own lawyer, Martha. She was as tough and smart as a bulldog, and she knew the land and the law like the back of her hand. She wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty, and she had a fire in her eyes that matched my own. When she heard my story, she didn't just get angry. She got determined. "They're not just trying to take your land, Mr. Blackwood," she said, her voice like steel. "They're trying to erase you, and we're not going to let them." The HOA meetings became shouting matches, full of angry accusations and bitter words. Patricia, with her smooth talk and her followers nodding along like puppets, would paint me as the villain, a stubborn old man standing in the way of progress. She even started a petition filled with lies and exaggerations to try and turn the whole town against me. I had to stand up for myself, my voice shaking with a mix of fury and fear, reminding every one of the people who had worked this land, the sweat and tears and love that had soaked into the very soil. One night, it all came to a head. Patricia, her face red and twisted with fury, yelled, "Mr. Blackwood's farm is a danger to us all. It's infested with disease-carrying vermin. It's a fire hazard, and it's dragging down our property values so much that we might as well be living in a swamp. We will not be ruined by his backward ways." The room exploded. People were yelling, pointing, and I could see fear in their eyes, fear that Patricia had put there. I stood up, my hands trembling, but my voice strong. "This dangerous place," I said, my voice ringing out over the chaos, "has fed this town for generations. Those vermin are just God's creatures, try to live, just like us, in this land." I swept my arm around the room, encompassing not just the room but the whole world outside. Was here long before your fancy houses and your precious lawns. It's the heart of this town, the soul of this place, and I won't let you destroy it for another strip mall. It wasn't just about the farm anymore. It was about right and wrong, about the kind of world we wanted to live in, about whether we valued money more than history and community. The fight dragged on. The lawyers kept sending papers back and forth, the court dates looming closer and closer. But every morning when I walked my farm, when I felt the cool earth beneath my feet and the warm sun on my face, I felt a strength that came from deep within. It was the strength of the land itself, the strength of my ancestors. No HOA, no lawyer, no one could take that away. This is my story, written in the land, and I won't let anyone change it. I will fight for Blackwood Acres until my last breath. And I knew, deep down, that I wouldn't be fighting alone. The truth comes out. The trial was even harder than I'd imagined. Patricia and the HOA seemed to have all the advantages. They had fancy lawyers, deep pockets, and many of the townspeople on their side. But Martha was a force of nature. She worked day and night, digging up old records, finding loopholes in their arguments, and uncovering secrets they desperately wanted to keep hidden. And that's when we found it. It turned out that Patricia and a few other members of the HOA board weren't just concerned about property values. They had plans to buy up the land around my farm once it was gone and build an even bigger development, making themselves even richer. They'd been using the HOA as a weapon to get what they wanted. Martha presented this evidence in court, and it was like a bomb had gone off. The judge was furious. The townspeople, who had been swayed by Patricia's lies, were shocked and betrayed. The judge threw out the HOA's case and ordered them to pay not only my legal fees, but also a huge fine for their underhanded actions. But that wasn't enough. Martha and I decided to make sure everyone knew the truth. We held a town meeting, and Martha laid out all the evidence, plain as day. She showed how Patricia and her cronies had manipulated the law, spread lies, and tried to destroy a man's life for their own selfish greed. The townspeople were outraged. They demanded that Patricia and the others resign from the HOA, and some even called for them to be prosecuted. Patricia, stripped of her power and exposed for the villain she truly was forced to leave town in disgrace. And Blackwood Acres? It stood tall, a symbol of what happens when people stand up for what's right. The town learned a valuable lesson about the importance of community, history, and the land that sustains us all. And I, the underdog farmer who refused to back down, became a local hero, a reminder that even the smallest voice can be heard, and even the longest odds can be overcome.